yeah, I can't run like Tom. Anyway, hey everybody, this is Retrokid Reviews. Wishing I had time to do a retrospective of the first three Mission Impossible movies for Dead Reckoning. So let's get this out of the way. Yeah, Tom's definitely learned from his ankle injury from Fallout. Card if I ever got around to watching or reviewing any of the movies leading up to this. So that being said, where do I start with Dead Reckoning? I'm kind of surprised with a lot of the entry-level characters they brought in. Other than Haley Atwell, we'll get to her in a minute. Palm Kantov? Hang on, let me get her name right. Clementov. Basically Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy apparently was in this movie, and yeah, you could definitely tell like MCU level stunt coordination versus whatever Tom's stunt coordination was the last 20 years of this franchise. So yeah, definitely. I'm gonna get to the obvious plot of the whole thing. Yeah, Tom's fighting AI. And a little bit of his Scientology hood might have gotten into this. Not entirely, I will admit. I know we're hoping to chase that high to see if it slivered into any of his writing, especially with Top Gun Maverick last year. Never got around to do a review for it, mainly because I didn't get around to do a retro review of the first movie. Spoiler alert, I love the first movie. It is my favorite 80s movie among many. And yeah, I'm going to be honest, Maverick basically exceeded those expectations, and you can definitely tell how Tom made that $1 billion in real time as time goes on when you're watching that movie. So coming into this, knowing it's going to be a two-part finale for the MI franchise, where do I want to start with Haley Atwell's Grace? I've had this headcanon for a very long time after seeing this in the theaters this week. Monday as of this recording, I think the full box office hasn't come in yet. I think we're looking at a worldwide of 235 mil, 56 mil here in the US on opening weekend. Pretty good, just to put it mildly. But then again, it's Tom, and he'll probably find a way to leg it out for the whole week. More importantly, where am I with my social media influencer-ish status with the WGA and writer strike and Actors Guild strike situation? I think there is a certain level of like cosplaying you're not supposed to do in solidarity with them if you are a WGA or SAG actor. I am neither. I am just a regular guy who has a retail job, so I don't know where I lie in that, so I'm going to figure that out for future figure reviews going forward. If I'm just going to stick to the product half of it instead of just acting with it, I'm going to try my best to explain that, I guess, in a future video. So with that bit of news out of the way, let's get back to most of the cast before we get to the rest of this plot here. It's fairly standard, every single stunt a minute kind of thing, but again, it's Tom, and he's basically the perfectionist most have pretty much figured out him to be. And yeah, he is definitely doing full production, micromanaging, I guess, of most of the stunts. Another cool recurring characters I never thought I'd probably see again after Fallout. Vanessa Kirby and Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa Faust and White Widows respectively. They definitely carry their own on the beat plot of the whole thing of like trying to negotiate with Gabriel, played by hang on, I just had his name. Yeah, Isa Morales, aka the guy that was I knew him as Admiral Donov in the Caprica prequel, or as I know later in life when I was playing Jason, the Titans season 2 as their version of Deathstroke. You can tell he is definitely like a Philip Seymour Hoffman level next gen kind of villain for the franchise going forward. They did a huge retcon, not slightly. They try to add more of a mythos to Ethan Hunt in Tom's case, and we'll get to that soon. So overall, Simon Pegg, I looked at him throughout the whole stunts and throughout the action sequences throughout this movie. I was like, is this dude gonna die? What? And there were moments, probably not. Also for Luther, for Vin Rames, he is definitely doing his best. I got you kind of vibe, kind of attitude with most of the crew go forward in this movie, and probably since I'm gonna say Rogue Nation eventually down the road. Whenever I get around to reviewing those movies for part 2. So yeah, more character actors I didn't think I'd see. Carrie Ellis, aka Dr. Gordon himself from my Saw reviews, those over there. And Shea Wiggum, who I thought was basically a Simpson name, but it was like, oh, he's that character actor from the Fast franchise and the worst Death Note adaptation ever. But yeah, let's get to the most obvious like callbacks to one that most of this movie is going to be part of. Obviously, Kitcher's played by Harry Kanzeri. My bad in advance for your last name, sir. Yeah, he pretty much is doing a good adaptation, not really good adaptation, a good performance of what he did over 20 years ago with the original 96 movie, so awesome there. However, as far as like the callbacks go, that made me like actually get hyped in the theater. I saw this on an IMAX screening, by the way, and yeah, the MI franchise is pretty much not notorious, but like pretty much required to watch this on IMAX, given most of the set pieces Tom has been known to. This time around, totally worth it. Well, because of the train in the bit, that you probably seen in the trailers. However, the cool thing is I can't do magic, but for those who remember the original movie, Tom basically had to learn actual like sleight of hand magic tricks to just flip. I guess to mess with his crew. Later in that movie, to when they were flipping, when he was flipping the floppy disk kind of thing. Basically the same thing here, but with a nuclear key that has a rogue AI that wants to rule the world kind of stuff, and it may or may not be sensing it. So if it sounds like Skydance, who also helped co-production of this movie, had leftover scripts from their Terminator years, yeah, I could definitely tell. So at points. So on to Tom himself. He's getting weirder. On his off time, he is just basically living in the shadows now. He's going through his Batman arc. You can definitely tell after Fallout. And all the stunts you see Tom do, you're gonna see a lot more running than you did in like MI3 at the very least. And at best, the train, he definitely put a lot of thought into it. I think there's a behind-the-scenes video. I don't know if I'm allowed to watch, show it in the cars, but just in case Paramount put it on their personal channel. That being said, yeah, you could tell he put a lot of effort into it. You could kind of see the justification of his micromanaging during COVID. Oh, by the way, this whole movie was shot during COVID, and this is probably the latest. Probably in a long line of movies that got delayed because of COVID. We're in 2023. The pandemic's basically over. I'm wearing this pandemic level mask mainly out of solidarity what happened the last couple of years, behind the curtain kind of stuff here. That being said, for Tom, he really needed this in Maverick to work to keep his career, and you could definitely tell he is going to get that in dividends for most of the stuff he did in this movie. So for all the part 2ification of it, it's a good bookend. It's mainly more plot oriented. I'll probably explain that better when part 2 comes out next year, if it comes out next year with all the strikes happening right now. That being said, you can definitely see how that's going to be the main plot going forward into 2. They show you at the beginning of the movie. They give you the right cues. They build up the soundtrack kind of like how they usually do. Because also for, I guess all my younger audiences here on my channel, the Mission Impossible franchise was not a movie franchise. It was originally a TV franchise that Tom was a huge fan of, that basically wanted to essentially be his own thing. Again, I'll try to go more into it for the retrospective of the first 3 movies, probably next year when part 2 drops. So ultimately, for my overall review for this, worth a watch. I mean, it's still Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise with stunts, despite how myself and everyone here feels about his personal life and stuff like that. His 2000s was wild, and I'll try to explain that if I ever get around to do a retro review of MI3, where that basically all came to a head. So that being said, yeah, it's worth it, honestly. Also, for Haley Atwell's Grace, long story short, I've had a headcanon, and I tried to explain this earlier in this review. I think she's the long-lost daughter of Ethan Hunt. I could be wrong. Part 2 could explain it completely better. But essentially her whole, like, I don't want to be here style, like, recruitment kind of process IMF agents are trying to do throughout this whole movie. You can kind of see a good character motivation going forward. Atwell does a great job with most of the stunts, especially in the early driving chase sequences. You can definitely tell her and Tom had the most fun, playful with the whole scenario. Other than probably the micromanaging, Tom was also being notorious to do. For the director of this next couple of movies, Christopher McQuarrie has been around since, I want to say, Rogue Nation. So that's pretty cool that he's going to help out the rest of this franchise going forward, especially this finale. And as for Rebecca Ferguson and Vanessa Kirby, they did great jobs being their usual character selves in the back of these movies previously. You're not gonna see Rebecca Ferguson again. At first I thought, okay, we're gonna fake your death going into part 2, but there's another reason why, and you'll probably see when the movie's out. So I'll probably explain it when part 2 drops next year. That being said, that's also a good explanation to why she said yes to 2 parts of Dune. So yeah, I haven't gotten around to do a retro review of the original 80s movie or part 1, but I am a fan of 1 and on the other if I ever read the book. So yeah, that's a Comic World 19 Danica situation down the road. If I ever get around to getting her on the channel, that'd be awesome. Discuss Dune essentially. So that all being said, my overall rating for Dead Reckoning Part 1 for Mission Impossible, I'm starting to sound like Sean Connery. Why is that? Anyway, that being said, a good 10 out of 10. It's pretty average. I'm not really average for a 10. In the Tom scale, it's a 10 out of 10. But for me, 9 out of 10. Again, I want to see more. I want to see part 2. I want to see what's going on. Same thing, like I said, with all these multi-parters all year long with Spider-Verse and FXX. They have good beginnings, great middle, and I think this and Spider-Verse gives you better bookend to at least explain going into their part 2, essentially. So that's kind of where I feel there. Ultimately, if there's anyone else in the cast I might have missed, please let me know in the comments down below. IMDb is always down there. And with that all being said, yeah, this is the most played straight Retrokid reviews here. Yeah, again, like I said, I don't know where I stand on the whole social media influence or kind of status when it comes to the Actors Guild strike and the now Writers Guild. So my apologies in advance. I'm going to try to read that throughout the rest of this week, just in case. For the layman, I have like low subs and like not that many viewerships, so I don't know, they probably won't even notice, but same time, I don't want to scab in case I scab. So that being said, potential scabbing aside, end cards finally coming up to my previous video here, which was also another review. No, it was actually my news roundup for the whole situation with the writer's strike and my thoughts on Deadpool 3. Other hand here to my upcoming Critical Role short for episode 65, almost to that other number, if you know what I mean. Anyway, not am I gear here to sub the channel. Again, I can't run like Tom. Until I ever do a real nerve version of Ethan Hunt, God help me there. I am Retrokid Reviews saying, yeah, Tom, you're crazy. There was so much running. So much running. That being said, this is a good movie. Totally worth a watch. I don't know if he still has that whole gripe about motion zooming, and I don't want to talk about that because guy knows how to micromanage. Seriously.